No sound from Seb. This is a classic. This is a classic. So, okay, let's try to. Okay. Yeah. No.
Okay.
So,
I fixed it.
good
Now people.
good evening, everybody.
No people.
So,
I'm fine.
Sebastiano,
Now they can hear me, okay?
it's
They
good to
can
go
hear me.
now.
Fine. Hello. Hello. Welcome back again to Code with
I like the.
Italians. It looks like, yeah, there's some funny business going on.
It's so we are so
Yeah.
professional, you know. We have people guests, so we
We
look
are
so
super
professional.
professional.
So thank you for your patience. Super.
Yeah, I'm also fixing the
So
chat in the screen because I just noticed it's very squishy. That's the problem. You don't see the chat until you have people chatting. But we're back today with the design subsection. I don't know. Design with Italians, squishy chat edition.
serious.
Super serious. We are at least like, I don't know, 500 serious, 600 serious. How does that work? Is it like font weight from last time we spoke?
Yeah.
So today we are going to be talking about color, and besides our regular co-host Chris, we also have Ivy with us. Hi, Ivy. Welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Ivy Knight. I'm a material designer advocate at Google. Probably y'all had Liam on last time talking about talking about type. So I'm here today to discuss color with y'all.
Thank you. I mean, color is such a
Nice.
big
Welcome.
topic. I don't know how much we're gonna be able to cover today, but let's get cracking. So, where does one start with color? what's the introduction?
Yeah, color, like you said, color is just a massive thing. You can start really simple and kind of just scrape the layer. There's some basic color theory that you can kind of learn, and that will actually, I think, will take you a long way, especially if you're just doing some simple designs or just wanting to know how things work a little bit. And then, there's the further you'll get, there's an entire realm of color science that you could get into, but we won't get into. Yeah, that's an entire study of how light is interacts, and we see that. I think the best thing to do is kind of start with some basic color theory, and so we can learning through that's with. So if you're talking to your designer, they you know what they mean by when they say a primary color or an analogous color or something.
I
Yeah.
love this because Sebastiano knows that I'm a big fan of domain driven design, and one of the key part is this ubiquitous language that you actually can use to speak to other people on your team in other teams. So I really dig this. I want to have a shared language with the designer, and it's not like, oh yeah, this color, or like me being me, can you give me the red hex color? And there is like a lot more behind just give me the red. So please.
I think the best place to start too, if you're completely new to color or if you want to really focus on something in design, is actually or I'm going to say color, but it's actually hue at all. So you're just working from the value, the lightness or darkness of a color. And so this is what you'll see a lot in wireframes. So you grayscale might be handed over these grayscale boxes from your designer, and that's because it's to focus down on what the UX can be and what the content is. So it's not just like please implement UI in all grayscale. It's we're focusing on it, and those colors can or the values of it can help hierarchy of your content. but also those, when you add hue back to it, that is a color. All colors have a value to them. So even if you were complete true colorblind, only see grayscale, that's you would still see different values for those colors. So I would say it's a weird place to start and say like, oh, do that, but it's kind of where you start in color theory too, learning how to, like, if you get some acrylic paints and mix them up, you're going to make a tonal chart of all those, from like what is the lightness and darkness of colors. And then from Chris, please feel free to jump in too if you have any comments. I know you work on the Andrew team. So from there, so after you've gotten value and your content, so there are some different things like with tone, but then when we talk about color, we're often talking about the hue of a color, which is kind of what you would refer to, like this is red or this is blue. That would be the hue of it. And then get yourself a color wheel. So
you said the magic word. Should I
really
share that?
Yeah.
Color
yeah,
wheel.
So, yeah, let's dive over to our our friends at Adobe Color over here. So this is a good representation of color, and the color wheel is actually kind of a flattened out view of how color is seen. And we can also, this one's great because it gives us the color groups and relationships. So, and we can start pulling together palettes and whatnot by using a color, and you can determining where the relationship is will really help you kind of see what colors work together the best. So we have like analogous colors or colors side by side. So if somebody's like, well, give me an analogous color to this, they're just in the color wheel, what color is going to be right next to it. And this works, yeah. So if you move it around, you can see like green and yellow, and then yellow and orange.
So, and how do they relate to each other, the analogous? Because is it like the strictly close on both darker and lighter side?
Yeah.
Or it's
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're just literally colors that are next to each other in some variation.
Okay.
And this the color wheel also, this one it doesn't give as much of a distinction in those groups, but there's, again, if we go back to like our paint example, if we took, there's the primary colors, we'll learn in school, and those are colors that you can't mix to get. And then there's secondary colors, which you would mix the two primaries together, and then tertiary behind that. So there's also these colors, primary, second, tertiary, which can sometimes be confused. Like, we're not talking about your brand primary. We're literally talking about like red. Red cannot be reproduced by mixing two colors.
Okay.
And so in the color wheel there, you would have two colors next to each other. Complementary is a very common one if you want high contrast or contrast within two colors. So those are literally opposite each other. So blue and orange, you're going to have, and they're going to contrast against each other. This can be good, and this can be one of those things that you maybe want to avoid, depending on how much contrast you want to put in there. And then triad literally is, triad and monochromatic are probably the other two common ones to use. Monochromatic, of course, is just going to be one color, the shade. So you've seen there at the palette is now gone monochromatic down below the wheel. and then triad is picking 3 points from the color wheel.
And these are always at 120 degrees, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, I think sometimes I think these relationships are important, and some of it's just for like a feeling, like if it's for an app or anything you're designing, like print, part of it is just picking the colors and seeing what works. I like the analogous one because sometimes there's a region of, or I don't know if this, I'm probably using the wrong words, but there's like a ballpark or area of color that I want to use, like maybe purple or blue, but I don't always know what the exact shade of it is, and so I think analogous kind of helps to give you kind of the exploration without, yeah. So it kind of gives you a bunch of variation, and then you can try these things, and they all kind of fall into the same realm usually. Exactly. But yeah, having a tool like this is really useful to kind of explore the color.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because, like I said, the color, the more you dive into it, the kind of the more there is to learn. Even with Chris mentioned print, yeah, there's an entire different when you're dealing with additive color, which is print is an additive technique, and then compared to something from the monitor screen where print is subtractive, and then monitor coming from digital is additive.
We can't hear you anymore, Ivy. Yeah,
Hello?
now you're back.
Hey, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's yeah, and then different color systems you'll use for each. So print, of course, CMYK is the color system compared to digital, which typically you would use RGB, but we can also kind of, but there's a ton of other ones that and we've started using for material.
So go for it.
I just want to jump on this willow color because I never used it as a tool so granular. But now I wonder if I can get more from this when I pick a palette, or that just the primary and secondary color for my apps, my pet projects. Usually I use something like Material Palette website. They give me an idea. Okay, I would like to make the app orange, so what would I use as a secondary or like an accent color, or and they will give me some ideas. Would a tool like the color wheel that we just saw used with the there was like one of the options, like there was like the opposite color. It was not the analogous one. It was like, I can't remember the
complementary.
So, complementary. Would it be like like a first step to actually find a pair of colors that they are nice together, or I'm just making this up in the hope that it can be simple for me?
I think so for sure. It gives you it's one of those visual tools that to know how are these colors actually related to each other, and kind of palette generation tools that's what they're using. They're finding the analogous colors or the complementary colors, and that's how those palettes are being generated. And that can also help you. So we're not just clicking around finding what colors, but actually to have more informed decisions when exploring, because we're still going to kind of want to, if you want an orange palette or something that goes with it, it's fine to still, explore as part of the process, but you can be a little bit more directed in that exploration. So you'll choose an orange, and if you want the colors to be within that same range, then to have analogous, and then select those around there. And maybe you'll find an orange you prefer better or more. And
Thanks. So Sebastiano, where are we? Are we seeing this, or I'm the only one seeing this?
Depending what you mean
Are
by
we
this,
still
I
on the
guess.
web? Yeah, we are. We are not on the web
No, I
anymore.
went back
So
to
we are seeing.
all four of
You're
us
not
because
sharing the screen.
I wasn't touching the color tool anymore, and we hadn't been seeing you for a while, and I missed you, dude.
Oh no, it's things I do for love. I sacrifice for the greater good. You don't need to don't bother. So
Yeah.
where would you start, Ivy, in color journey as a developer, for instance? You're starting. This is the same thing that I asked Liam about typography. So I'm starting a new app. I know the name of the app. I want the app to be kinda purple. Now what?
kind of
Is that a
purple.
pixel
Love
color?
it.
Yeah, it's purple 500. I can say it's at least purple.
Kind of purple.
Yeah. So that kind of.
So what would you suggest?
So if you have an idea of which purple, or maybe you don't have, we can even back up to maybe you don't have any, you haven't even selected this purple. You just have an app, and there is no branding, and you have a bunch of gray boxes. Now, what do you do now? And you have an app name, you said. So what this kind of dives into what color and branding too, and kind of what goes into there. So we want to, color can communicate concept and messaging and how it feels. There's also cultural implications, semantic implications. Semantic would be just the meaning of the color. For example, red, stop, or warning, typically green, go. But what is so if we have the name of the app and like what does the app do? You can start doing, there's a few ways you can go the route of creating, say, a mood board. Maybe that's a great place to start with any branding. Once you get the concept and message, which your app does, down, and a mood board is a collection of items, colors, photos, anything that will convey like this says, it's the mood that you want to go for. Could be the theme, and so put that together, or you could put a few together, and then which direction kind of vibes with the concept of your app the most, and you'll see a pattern emerging with each one. So what colors are coming through here? So I don't. If you want to give we won't do this. But so the mood board is a good one to do. I think that's always helpful, and it kind of gets you into this putting together some visuals, and they seem to communicate. Even if you aren't a designer, they're pretty fun to do, and kind of helps express that. And you can really see which direction you want to go even with the color.
So for a mood board, for example, would you do something like you open Pinterest and start putting stuff there that you like, for example? Okay.
Yeah. There's if you want to use Pinterest, I typically put them together in any design tool or even slides. You can start putting things in and then curate them. And if it's, depending on what the project is, you can now make them a bit more fancy, or you can keep them casual. And then, but I tend to include, once I have photos or illustrations or even other apps, then an inspiration, collecting them like together. Like this is a more corporate feel compared to something maybe a more handmade feel or something with it. And then so each mood board will be a little different, and then pull some colors from those photos. Kind of brings us to a tool that was just released, the Material Theme Builder. So you could utilize something like that, which will actually pull colors and utilize those colors within the M3 color space and along the algorithm that is used there, and you'll get a full color scheme.
What is that?
The Material Theme Builder can actually be found at m3.material.io.
It's on M3, the new stuff. I have to say I really like the new landing page. M3.material.io. Okay. So probably worth for people. Just put in there that, and also the
I can actually drop a link to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let me open that, and there you go. Okay, yes.
Am I still there?
Yeah, you're back now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think we lost the screen share. I don't know, but I don't see the screen share anymore. On Skype, I mean.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'll try to go back to it.
Yeah, no worries.
Let me try it again. Share the screen. Boom. Okay, now you should see it again.
Yeah.
Okay,
fantastic.
Good.
Thanks.
So now you know what I'm doing again. I mean, without looking at Twitch 15 seconds later. Okay. So I think I have installed the plugin, maybe. Okay, yeah, I have it installed. Okay, so now if I wanted to create a new element in Figma, I never remember how to do that, which I guess it's not great. Okay, I need to go to the home page. So if I create like a new design file, for example, right? Oh, Chris is gone again. Oh no. Oh well, I guess it will reappear at some point. Maybe later. Okay. So let's say I want to create an artboard. It's just an empty frame. So how does one use the Material Theme Builder plugin here?
So currently there are no theme or styles that are using material design tokens. And so we can either start with a brand new file, or we can start with any material components. The builder also works with the new M3 design kit components.
Okay, is the design kit, this is the old one, I guess, the material theming.
Yeah, that's M2. So here, let me grab that link.
Thank you.
Are you sharing your screen in Skype?
I was, but I think it's at the point where it's either your face or the screen share. So,
okay.
I don't know what's going on with Skype today. I am theoretically sharing it, but let me stop it and restart it again. I hope you can see it now. And thank you, Ivy. I shall just put this here now. Okay. So this contains all the styles and the components, right? That I might need.
Yeah, so this is the M3 design kit, and those will have current components. They do have the material design tokens, so you can kind of start off out of the box with those, and it will theme those components. Whatever you select that has those tokens is utilizing the material design tokens. It'll work with, because the tokens are just Figma styles set up in there, and that is what the builder is actually kind of connecting to. So anything you use, you can even, if you had a brand new file with nothing in it, or if without any of these tokens, then it would then generate out the tokens for you, and or the styles, and then you can connect any. So if you had a custom component, you could still connect those styles into it.
And I think
Plugin, open plugin.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, open plugin. Yes. So if you go over to the components page.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you can either select all or just select some components, or should work.
Ta-da. Okay. Got a button selected.
Yeah, so we can kind of see this, it's broken up into both our dynamic color and custom. So dynamic is the new Material U feature that pulls user-generated color and then interprets them into key colors or source color, and then key colors, and then along tonal palettes that are created. So kind of this, we're talking about you know, lightness and darkness. This is actually luminance that it's using for this one, and then into the to light and dark schemes, and along with the new roles that are with M3. So we have like container and non-container for each one, and then an entirely new tonal palette, tertiary. So previously we had some, you know, accent, primary accent, and that it's just a new role to use your branding with, or to bring in color. So if we, so with that button selected, if you want to just, you can input an image, or if you want to do the little, or you can pick a source color or click the icon next to that big purple box. Yeah, it'll shuffle, kind of randomly generate, and it's kind of another purple, so it's hard to, you can keep clicking that, and it'll actually, yeah, so.
So is this the bundle V2 color scheme now? Officially different green. I'm just going to click random things and see what happens. Well, it didn't do anything, this one, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that will actually switch whatever's selected from, that will switch it to dark mode, and then, or dark theme that, and then the other one will do light theme. And then the swap button will actually swap the selection, whatever's selected, to the theme that is in the current theme dropdown. So you can add new themes. Baseline will just set the purple material baseline.
What are, by the way, you mentioned material tokens, and it's also mentioned here, but I don't really know what that is. Can you expand on that a second?
So that's like that will import a file format called DSP, which is the design system package, a collection of tokens. But tokens in general are really, you're probably familiar with them as an Android developer, as slots. So primary it's just instead of using a set value, you know, the set hex color, you're using a kind of interchangeable, or just a semantic in a shared language to know what that, but the value itself can change.
And I guess I can also, I can export it from here as well.
Yeah, so that will export it as a DSP format, which can then, if you wanted to pass it off to another designer, you can do that, and then it also works in VS Code.
This is huge. Cool. I like it.
I mean, this is, can can he really export the whole team as like a ready to go for Android Studio?
Yeah. So
I'm asking for a friend. This is
Here.
great. I
Is that
mean,
friend
because
you?
I'm usually the one that does this stuff, right? I'm the one that does, okay, let's build the colors file, let's build the styles. I'm the one that does the groundwork most of the time. But I mean, if you can export it, now you just need to persuade the designers to also build an app for Android after the iOS one.
I mean, it did create a Kotlin file, so there's that.
Yeah, so right now we have a Kotlin file. I'll export out one for Android views, so the XML theme file, all ready to use for Android Studio. So that was a previous, the current color tools did not fully export out if ready for the theming system. So this is what this tool does too. There's also a web version if you are a developer that does not work or have access to Figma, or a designer that doesn't have access to Figma. There is a web version. So really we encourage, so kind of going back to how the actual plugin builder is, we have dynamic color so this would be visualizing what could be pulled from a user's wallpaper. But we also have custom. So if you click the little custom button on the plugin,
Got it.
now here, yeah. So we've kind of created those mood boards. If we go back to the app analogy, like we're trying to determine, and we want to then figure out. We've kind of have the feel of your app now. Like, what are the common colors now? So the primary one it's going to be your main accent color. It's going to be what's, on your primary buttons, main actions, anything like that. So you can input directly primary color into that. So if you click on that big green, so I'll bring up and
very
say,
old school color picker. Thank you, Windows. This is Windows 11, by the way.
Nice. So you want
I want yellow because it's me. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh no, it changed it.
Oh. So right now it's going to actually color shift it. It's taking it along that M3 color algorithm, and it's extracted out the hue and chroma, and then put it along the tonal palette, and then applied back the hue to it. And yellow is a fun one you chose, because if you ever take yellow and mix in any white or black, or going from gray, it does, to us it looks brown, and it doesn't.
Okay, got it. No yellow, fine.
You totally.
No, try again, Sebastian. Try again. Fight the algorithm.
That's fine. This is nicer.
Fair enough.
So you picked this blue. So I guess we're going with, speaking of like determining app colors. If you did a kind of market comparison, and you found your app is, I don't know, maybe it's a financial app or something. Blue is common for kind of corporates. It's a very safe
and social
color.
Networks.
Yeah. Certain social. Yeah.
Oh, metaverse.
No.
You mean if you are building a metaverse.
Yeah.
But we are more on the green side of the world because our app, right? So how would you consider green? If blue is a safe color, green is like a strong color?
I mean, our green is very green, to be honest.
Yeah, the Android green is pretty hard to work with, I would say.
I like the politeness. Hard to work with, like, it's an unfortunate color.
Yeah. It's because it's interesting, because when Android rebranded a couple years ago with Android 10, they they had the Android green, which changed, but part of that color palette, there was also kind of this darker navy blue. There was a lighter blue, and then I think there was like an orange and kind of like a yellow, or a more of a, not fluorescent, but a pale yellow. But you needed that you needed those other colors, because just using Android green as an accent just didn't work really well for, especially for accessibility. Like if you were trying to use it to, we don't follow the rules exactly very well, but like on developer.android.com, like some of the buttons are using this Android green, and thankfully the buttons are large enough that you can get that contrast between the background and foreground. But if you tried to use it for text, it just would not work at all. So it's a hard color to use, and so we use it a little more sparingly in the Android developer space. But yeah, some colors are harder to use than others.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, you said something about the algorithm doing things, because Sebastiano selected a green as a key color, but then
There was like
I mean, I don't see that green. So is it the tool feels like it's doing something for me, but as a like a ignorant of this world, I don't understand what is doing and why is doing it. So why I don't see the green that I selected?
So if I would suggest going to an empty file and then generating, because it will, you can kind of see it in action, generate out this color schematic. I mentioned the key colors and the tonal palettes and the schemes, and so you'll get, so here it might take, there you go. Okay, so this is the, oh no, that's not good. Let's open up the plugin one more time and then input a color.
Okay, I don't know why it confirmed things, but okay. So should I pick a color?
Yeah, you can pick a color or create a custom one.
I'll go with our lovely green.
Okay, and it should be on the screen. If you kind of zoom out, it looks like you have some. There it is. Oh, there's the rest of it. It's separated out. So you deleted the. You can actually regenerate portions of this color output too.
Yeah, it looks like I've done the wrong thing.
That's fine. So plugins and then generate will give you, if you ever do that, there you can even get the Android schemes, surface, anything that's. If you want. So yeah, these give you actual kind of system names. Oh, nice. But here you do have the light and dark scheme and surface generated.
So that would be light and dark here, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you wanted to see the material design tokens, they're going to be in the one over to your left.
Oh, right. This one.
Yeah, it's light dark. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of see how if you regenerated the tonal palette, you would see the key color that's interpreted, and then how it's taken that tonal palette and then it chooses along those. So like primary is primary 40, and then container.
Where did it generate? Nowhere.
Nice.
Maybe it overrided it. Could it be?
Tonal palettes? Oh, maybe.
No, maybe just hates me because I deleted it earlier. Oops.
It's upset. But if you kind of zoom in on the schemes, you can still see so you can see the names here. So primaries would be the token, and then it's actually telling you
this one, right?
Yeah, where along those tonal palettes that it picked from. So primary 40, primary and then primary 100 was along the tonal ranges, so 0 to 100. This also guarantees accessibility because of that range. the 60 luminance spread there. And yeah, so it's kind of shifted those colors a little bit and then put them into these schemes and to ensure accessibility.
So
but for instance, the primary container feels like the original one that Sebastiano selected at some level. Am I correct, or is it? But I understand the idea. So you start from one color, and then to match the accessibility and all the requirement and constraints on the design system, it gives you back a fully fledged actually color system that works from the one that you picked.
Yeah. So and you can kind of see here too that primary is going off that source, or you input one primary color. And the custom tab, if you just do primary, it'll actually use that as that main source or C color. Yeah, so there's primary, but you didn't pick secondary, tertiary, neutral. So it's generated out the entire scheme just using that primary color. So if you have an app and it just has a color, you can still have a fully fledged scheme. So secondary is going to be kind of an accent, similar, like an analogous accent to your primary, and then tertiary is going to be something more contrasting.
That's not analogous.
Go fuchsia. Well, no, but it's secondary. I don't know, like accent
like
kind
this?
of thing.
Oh god.
Yeah. And then you can go in if you have a larger brand color system.
Oh, look at that! Actually, wow. This is so nice.
So here you've chosen complementary, primary and secondary colors because they're opposite the color wheel, green and purple.
I was just doing
and then you can even choose a tertiary.
What would you pick as a ternary? Because, I mean, if the secondary is like the accent one, ternary, what would it be? Like a similar green? It will be closer to green or closer to the purple one? Or it's a completely different color? Oh, okay. I see. Well,
I just picked something that was similar to the primary, but I don't know. That's just me.
But that's the part that I'm missing as a developer, because now I have the palette, right? I mean, I have like a few primary variants, a few secondary variants. I know for sure that red is for error. I want a background that it's white, but then I'm missing the real usage. What would I use for the toolbar? Is it the fab always accent? Should it be the background always white? The basic stuff the usual thing that happens to me, even in the app that I'm building right now as a pet project. I have a white background, and then I have cards on top of that, on top of it, and the cards, there is not enough contrast. The shadow is not enough to make them just come out. And then I'm always wondering, okay, should I put a background on the card? Would it look bad? Is it the right call? I'm holding it wrong. And this is the you can see the struggle, right, from somebody that doesn't know.
We can jump into the color roles too. Which
I think that's exactly, Ivy.
Yeah. So there is default mapping if you don't want to even deal with this at all. And of course, even with that, I have to say, if you just want user color or you just want color in your app that your users will hopefully love because it's coming from their wallpaper, dynamic color all the way. So that's what that's going to be. But if we do want to go into the system does have color roles. So. And this is kind of where we're talking about what these actually are used in. And if I sent a link, color system, Material Design 3 color system, and then in color color rules. Yeah, so this gives us where these are actually kind of slotted into when it comes to components, and breaking down those things, and then mapping accent rules. If you scroll down some, you can it even breaks that apart into what is so primary. Yeah, you're going to you're usually going to see that in your buttons, your primary action buttons, and then fabs, anything to like links. Great color to use for that. Secondary is going to be the less prominent one.
Got it.
It's usually derived, and then tertiary, contrasting accent to that. Input fields are a great place. It shows here the picker here, and then neutral roles are so that neutral color is what then gets turned into background and surface colors. And we also have, so you were mentioning card backgrounds, and so that's an interesting one because, so we do have surface and background, but there's the new surface tones. So since this is all built from luminance, and tone, so you have, instead of conveying where the height of an object is with using drop shadow or drop shadow exclusively, we're now doing this through surface tones. So you have surface 1 through 5, which are included in the Figma plugin. It outputs these as a read-only Figma style. So you can actually use them in your design mocks. So yeah, you see those 2 rows of, yeah. So those are going to give you, those are the surface tones, but they are not tokens themselves. So they're not going to be exported out, and they are, it's similar to the dark theme system and from M2, where it's more of an overlay, and but it shows which colors are being kind of mixed and overlaid here. So it's not a direct color you're going to be applying as a developer. You would just say surface. Yeah. Oh, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's what's really powerful about it, and like I've used it for some other scenarios outside of Android. Like the system itself is powerful because like you can use the material components like card and button and things, and they will use the color roles specified here as specified. So, you know, once you pick your colors and it generates that theme, it actually knows that like primary or primary container is supposed to be used for like a button or a card. And so the colors it chooses actually works well because it makes these accessibility and also honestly like tasteful color choices for you with the algorithm, which often as a designer, you have to do a lot of trial and error to get that right. So that's one powerful part of the algorithm. But the other powerful part, which I think the neutral tones part is really interesting, is at some point, like in M2 or Material 2, the color tokens that we used to have were pretty limiting. So one example, I can't show these mockups, but I've done interesting explorations of applying Material 3 to Android Studio. And Android Studio, you know, has a lot of different panels and dialogues and backgrounds, and so like only having one primary or 2 accent colors really wasn't going to work. So this whole breakdown of surfaces in surface 1, surface 2 is actually really cool because it allows you to show differentiation in your UI for different surfaces, but also all the colors harmonize because the hues in the surface are still pulling from that primary or those seed colors that you originally had. So it's actually, as a designer, it's a super powerful system to use because I think it's very thorough. Like it extends beyond just the very simple case of like one or 2 accent colors, which we don't see much with mobile, but outside of mobile, like it having that much variation is really useful.
What I understand is that in Material 3, you don't only have elevation, but you also have a colored overlay that is based on a neutral color that is put on top of the surface and their content depending on their elevation. And the opacity of that layer, of that overlay, is depending on the elevation values. Is that correct?
Oh, so yeah, you can kind of think of the surface tones as the elevation. So, say it's probably more communicated in say like the top app bar. So now it starts at surface. But when the user scrolls up, it actually changes that elevation. It changes to 2, and then so it's surface 2, and it's a tonal shift. And so instead of adding that shadow, that previous elevation shadow, but it's treated as the same system. We're not changing the value of the background or the value that's in that component, where it's actually taking on an elevation of +2.
Got it. Got it. I think we actually had a very good question from the chat from Hugo, which is when we're talking dynamic color, sorry, is it all or nothing, or can you still specify that you'd always want some kind of brand color for specific tokens? Not sure if that would make sense, but that would probably be a question from folks when explaining dynamic colors.
That's a great question. Yeah, it's not all or nothing. We highly encourage you to use dynamic color, of course. We want to, Material U is all about expressive, personalized color. But we understand that that's a different way of thinking with that, about kind of how your app looks and branding, and that at the end of the day, you just need your brand colors in there. So you can do this a few different ways. In the Figma plugin, you can actually add within the custom section, you can, within custom, you can create a custom theme, and that could be used as your theme. And then you can you can still do theme overlays and have dynamic color or custom as a theme overlay, or as a theme itself, and pull there, and then how you implement it. Or you can, so if you do primary, tertiary, it's going to export out. Or if you want to use dynamic color as your main colors, so the primary, say you want dynamic colors used all throughout as dynamic, secondary, tertiary, but then you have some colors that you absolutely have to reference, say in a logo or something, or in some special parts, then you're going to actually swap over to custom and then add these custom colors, and those will also be generated out with it. And you can see they've still kind of gone through that color shifting for you, so they're still accessible, they're still in the color story, and they'll work along with that dynamic color. So even though that top portion, primary through neutral variant, can be dynamic and changing with user wallpaper, you have those custom rows at the bottom to reference. And you can also still remap things to the tokens if you really want, a fab to be reference a different color token. You can still do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we don't have it quite hooked up here, but once you actually have because what the plugin does is it creates these reusable styles in Figma, and the designer usually would map those to specific controls that they've drawn up in Figma for their background or for their foreground. So once that style is declared like a token, I think you can kind of see it's written on the side of I can't see it exactly because it's blurry, but it's cool because this tool can allow you to kind of map the colors to your UI, and then you can kind of iterate through color. You can pick different colors, you can pick different source images. So that kind of circles back to what Ivy was saying about mood boards is you can bring in all of these kind of sources of inspiration of color. And then if it's mapped in the tool, then it's easy to kind of play around with it without actually having to do too much work. The other thing I was going to say, though, is when it gets down all the way to the implementation in Android, so I don't know about views, but for Jetpack Compose, you can because it's Kotlin, you can subscribe to just pull the dynamic color theme. Part of it is you have to like the app has to be running on an Android 12 device. But there's a way in the code in Kotlin where you call to say, hey, is dynamic color theming supported? If yes, give me the dynamic color theme that is available, and then you can map that to the material theme that you're already using in Compose. But because it's Kotlin, like you can kind of like hack it a little. You could say, okay, maybe I'll pull in the dynamic color theme at first, but then like I'll override maybe 1 or 2 colors, and then that color palette that you've kind of altered, you can then pass that to the overall app. So I think there's a lot of flexibility actually when it comes to the code with dynamic colors. So
yeah, and there's different ways to think about it too, as far as design. Like if you want to just bring in dynamic color in a more personalized way, user-centric screens, profile, something there, those are great ways to start introducing that dynamic user color into your apps without fully, maybe you need to kind of ease your app and the team into that idea, or maybe even as an app theme itself. So you have dark, light, and you could have a dynamic theme. So yeah, then we're encouraging people to explore how that's how they use this user color in their app.
And there is actually a baseline theme too. Like so just like in Material 2, I think the baseline theme was kind of this purple motif.
Yeah.
It's similar in Material 3. I think there's a lot more tokens in the system, so you have a lot more variation. But yeah, if you choose not to use dynamic color theming, you can still rely on that baseline theme as the backup, which is still a great choice of colors.
Which
what I
would
remember.
be this one, right?
So it's actually right. So that's going to set your current theme back to that purple. It's actually it's taken it's material purple and now it's kind of applied the same algorithm. So you can see the primary and the tonal palettes. But that's a great point. So there is still the baseline, and we encourage, even if you want to go full dynamic, still create a custom theme and then export that out and use it. Not only that's going to make migration and implementation of M3 colors possible. It's going to give you all of the tokens and everything you need for the colors, the theme, but also if the user has to say turned off dynamic color, or if their device does not support it, you can have a custom theme to fall back on if you didn't want the purple, just the default purple baseline coming through.
So actually this is interesting because I wanted on Sunday to try and upgrade. Well, I will upgrade Compose on our application, and I will try to bring in dynamic color theming in the application. So I guess that what we should do, given we're using Material 2, is that we generate a base custom theme using the primary, secondary, whatever we had in our Material 2 theme. And then on top of that, I hook up the dynamic color when it's available to see that respond to the wallpaper changes, correct?
So you're going to want to migrate using kind of that M3 theme. I highly suggest checking out this code lab. So it's going to be actually how to apply dynamic color, and it walks you through with using the builder and implementing that file, kind of dropping it in there, and then providing everything. Because there's if you just turn everything on or go through, you'll get a lot of kind of purple bleed through and whatnot. So this helps you, and then everything will be set up a lot more easily.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely try this.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna try and go through the code lab on Sunday with our audience, maybe.
And I'm gonna it's also drop in the design lab here in the chat. So that's the design portion, actually walking through how to utilize the Figma
Mhm.
plugin that you're using now. There's a file to use it that goes along with this, and it kind of walks you through how to visualize dynamic color, and that also goes into the code lab, which is the
This one,
code
right?
implementation. Yeah, so there is a code lab, or the format that walks you through more detail if you want it, but if you want to just use the Figma file
Mhm.
along with the plugin.
Got it. That's a lot of things. I'm very impressed by the amount of stuff you folks have put out.
That's tell me about it.
Yeah, there's
At least you have an idea what's going on here.
Yeah. Ivy and team have done a tremendous amount of work for material use. So it's really cool to see all of this available for developers and designers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was going to go back to this question you had, Ivan, about the tertiary color. I think one of the powerful things about this tool is you don't have to think about what that tertiary color should be. I think the tool is nice because if you had to pick one color, you could just pick the primary, and then the tool does a really good job of generating colors that work or complement well with it from the secondary to the tertiary. And so in some sense, as a developer, it's like you get this algorithm that Material Use created is nice because it gives you a tasteful color palette with minimal effort, which was hard to do in the past, I think.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think like some of the tools Ivy was talking about with the color wheel, it's like those are useful if you're really wanting to like explore and dive deep into all the color variations, but you know, sometimes we don't all have that time. So these tools really help kind of shortcut that, but in a meaningful and intentional way for
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, instead of there's so many color palette generators out there, you know, you can pick your color palette on your favorite Pokemon or something, but it probably is, yes, more meaningful than doing doing
Never
that.
tried with a Pokemon.
Well, there's the yellow Pokemon
Yeah,
that's very famous.
Oh yeah.
So just to mention, given we have talked previously about Adobe Color, you can also like pick a file and extract the colors in Adobe Color if that is something that you want to play around with, I guess. But given that you kind of have the same thing here, but just defining an image, I don't know, like if you're only trying to get the colors of an image, then you can just go with the Figma plugin, I guess. Whereas if you're trying to get different configurations based on an image, then it might be best to use maybe the Adobe one and then bring the colors into Figma once you're done. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to of course, you know, say please use the plugin first, but and it's going
fair.
it's going to derive. You can see kind of it's set up into that color space, the primary, secondary, tertiary, as they into their respective color roles, and kind of how their behaviors and relationships here. And but also the dynamic tool here is more to help explore possibilities of what a user wallpaper would be, and then that additional use case of being able to create a color theme that you probably might want to reuse is just a kind of an additional use case into it.
So the color extraction algorithm in the plugin is the same one that runs on Pixels, right? It's the same. Okay. So if you have the same wallpaper image and you also feed it to this, you'll get the same color. So maybe you can preview how things will look on your phone if you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can hook all of these colors up because they're Figma styles, and they're going to be using the material design tokens into your mockups in straight into Figma. So, and then you can create additional themes if you wanted to have a whole range of mockups into different possibilities of wallpapers to get, we want designers to be able to get stakeholder sign off because this is such a new thing to be really asking people to do with their branding.
I'm curious, I'm curious to see how apps, now that Material 3 is actually out there, how they will manage to keep their own unique visual identity while at the same time being responsive to the user wallpaper. Because I think personally, I can imagine some categories of apps will never apply dynamic theming, especially, stuff like banks and things that are extremely conservative about their branding. They're like, oh, no, but that's our blue. We do that blue. We do blue. That's what we do.
Yeah.
You can have
We only
dynamic
do
color
that
as
blue.
long as
Oh,
it's
yeah.
that
Yeah.
blue.
I think I know. I worked on that blue, or I worked on a team that had to check contrast check that blue you're talking about. I think So, it was, yeah. They are very
But I can
particular.
also I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the apps ecosystem adopting Material U and Material 3 in general, and then trying to see like the within the constraints of the palette being dictated by the user's wallpaper, what will be the creativity ideas that come out, how people will not work around it, but rather work with that to get their own distinct identity for their app.
Yeah, we're really excited about to see. It's I have to say the cliche, but yeah, we're excited to see what everybody builds with it. But really, this is going to be such an interesting time and see how it kind of evolves there. And of course, this is the first version of M3, and it was such a big shift. So seeing what everyone does with it and how they bring in that user generated color is going to be pretty fascinating. We hope as many apps do employ it.
Yeah, I guess at some point, hopefully we'll get to the point where the majority of the apps actually do use dynamic theming, and the ones that don't are going to be the ones that stick out in a not so nice manner, maybe. So, the peer pressure might convince everyone eventually.
Yep. But I'm super interested in the dynamic part, the dynamic theming, and the M3 nuance is that they can do very, very good for my apps because I get so much help, like heavy lifting done by you, and I can apply it to my apps where I say my apps, like my pet projects, where there are no huge constraints in when it comes to that blue, right? So I'm not doing branding of anything. I just want to make an app that is functional and that I can do, but I also kind of looks nice, and that's you. So I really think that I can get a lot as an independent developer from this, and at the same time I'm really super concerned on a professional point of view, how many conversation I will have the energy for when it comes to, oh, we could try dynamic theming, and they will probably look at me like, you just shut up and make the iOS app running on a Samsung.
Contractor life.
So that's
contractor life.
But that's why I no, but but that's why I'm so excited for my stuff, right? I want to learn this thing because I can definitely step up my game from an independent developer point of view, because you're doing a lot of heavy lifting for us from a design point of view, and this is huge. I mean, I'm telling you, Sebastiano knows. You can watch the episode. I really don't know anything about this. He is always looking, oh yeah, we can pick this color and this is the contrast, and I'm like, okay, whatever, yeah, you go for it. I usually pay for the design, but this kind of tools, they give me confidence that I not probably do it myself, but at least understand the reasoning behind, picking one color instead of another color. So thank you. This is great for us.
Yeah, I think what's also, even if you just use dynamic color theming, I think what's been great in Android 12 is if you've already played around with the wallpapers and style setting, the algorithm actually extracts 4 different palettes. So it doesn't just extract one, so you can actually pick amongst 4. And I actually really like that, because sometimes like I like my background or my lock screen, but then the first color palette it picked, I was like, I'm not really feeling that. But then the second, third, or fourth actually kind of is nice. And so even if you just do dynamic color theming, you're not necessarily locked into a single palette. It's able to generate 4 different ones based off of the source images, which is really cool.
I've just turned on my Pixel to test that. Because it's super cool.
Yeah.
I have like a pretty colorful picture, and I love that everything now is like very nice color, but I can change that as well. I guess this is more in focus. But yeah, I as a user, it's just like, wow, that's amazing.
And as a designer, sometimes we just want to focus on, what the product is, the usability of something. And we know if we pull these dynamic colors, or if we're using the same color space, then we're guaranteed that accessibility, and it's mapping these color roles. So that's even as a designer, that's sometimes a relief to get to. As fun as picking colors can be, and generating mood boards, sometimes you just want some colors.
One last thing while we are on the topic of material hue and colors, you can also apply the primary color, I believe, to your icons. Is that something that the system does automatically for you? I mean the launcher icons specifically. Or do you need to do anything to make that work? Like, do you need to use material hue libraries? Do you need to do something specific? Do you have any idea?
I believe those are only the Google Launcher icons at the moment, and I'm not sure if we can speak it anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I think the setting only does apply to the Google Launcher icons. At least in the developer side, we don't have I don't have any answer. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe it will be.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah. It's.
Okay, so I would say we have another 10 minutes, give or take. Anything else you would like to cover, or should we go with questions?
Let's see. I think we can, if there's any questions, I think we went over kind of customizing and color roles, dynamic color, the builder.
So
if you want to show there's also the web version I mentioned. So just more plugs to resources.
I mean, it's good. Just poor Ivan will have to get all the links at the end of the day. But oh, that's cool.
Getting there as we go, so no worries. One link at a time.
Okay, so
One link at a time, my friend. Oh, this is nice. What was it? What's this? Material foundation.
So this is the material theme builder
feet.
web edition.
What? I mean, can you please stop, Sebastiano?
Hey, I
Can
opened
you
my
please
Flickr
stop?
and got the first image.
I mean, what's wrong?
that I
Who
could
does that?
find.
Where did you get it? I mean, who have an image like that?
It's on my Flickr.
Laying
I don't
around?
know, dude. I took that in
Oh,
Trieste.
God. I mean, I'm with Mark. I'm with Mark with this. I would Mark on
Okay, I'll
this.
get
What's
another one.
wrong?
You keep talking. It's fine.
I think you.
Yeah, no,
maybe
I'm
you're
kidding.
advertising Tivas.
Am
for
I?
us.
See that here you can go through just some default wallpapers with these wonderful landscape images. And you can still shuffle the source color, and that will kind of that same functionality that's in the Figma plugin, or as you already found, you can add your own wallpaper to see it previewed within this UI example.
Better?
Can I extract the theme files? Oh, that's nice. Can I extract from the web version? Can I export, not extract, sorry, export as well?
Yes, so that's going to be in custom. You can set up your custom theme. As like here's baseline here, so we can go through and like put in our brand colors into those key colors there on the left.
Bundle.
And it'll give us a preview. Yeah. So it gives us the preview, and then it gives us our light and dark scheme. And then up in the right corner, there's our export dropdown, and same things, compose.
Nice.
DSP.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, and we could also toggle between light and dark if we want the whole thing to shift.
Yeah, there's a toggle. Oh, nice.
This is just
Fancy.
to preview it, and then the info icon links you back into some of the resources. So.
Is it my computer that is not parsing fonts, or is everything supposed to be Times New Roman? Damn.
It's
yeah.
your computer.
It must be Windows
11.
Yeah, amongst the other things that are broken. There's also that is broken. Oh, well.
This was just a Q&A
I mean,
session.
aren't all our streams?
Yeah.
It's kind of a constant, really.
I was gonna say, I think maybe it's Ivan, you asked about the DSP earlier. The DSP is interesting because, this tool can export the Kotlin code for Compose or the XML code for views, but the DSP is this file format that Adobe actually created, which is open sourced, and it allows you to kind of share your design system tokens across different platforms. So,
nice.
So if you have if you're a company that's building apps for both iOS and Android, or for web, or whatever platform you're targeting, if there's I think color and type is maybe an easy one. If you have a specific type that you're using and specific colors that you're using, if you kind of use them in the way the material system describes them, so in this role of like primary and secondary, the DSP is like a central source of truth to manage all of those values, so that there's other tools. You kind of look it up online about the Adobe DSP, but they have an entire tool set which is like the designer can manage the tokens in one place, and then there's a tool chain to generate the respective code files that are needed. So like if you're iOS, I think it generates like Swift code. For Android right now, it will generate XML or Kotlin. For web, I think it doesn't support every web framework in the world.
Is that feasible?
I think it supports some of the more well-known ones like Sass. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, even if you are feature complete, you are feature complete for like 1 week, and then you're still missing out on. But this is cool. So you could probably. I mean, if I understood correctly, you will probably like hook into this, like into like a CI, and it gets generating theme, and then you fetch the new theme, something like that.
I think you can do that. I don't know if it's I don't know if that workflow I've not seen that workflow, but I think it's certainly possible to do that.
Well, I mean, we are doing it with strings, right? Because we are
Right.
always pulling strings from localize. So why not the theme? I mean, this is great. I mean, imagine the possibilities. I get a message on Slack, even just pull the new theme, bam. Like I run one Gradle task and the
Yeah,
app is pink now.
Yeah, it was common to do that through, you have your theme connecting, feeding through JSON or something different, especially for like local or not local color extraction. But if you had different like detail screens or something that you needed to do that, you could have them running through a feed, being pulled into the UI that way. You can. There is a VS Code. I've seen some demos for that, and I'm blanking on the flow. But yes.
It's good. It's cool.
Yeah, I think
So nice.
I think one thing we're to the point of like it's not quite, the flow is not quite integrated into like the Android system. Like I think one thing we've imagined is like, oh, maybe if the design team, modifies the DSP, is there a way to kind of then package that up, send those changes to the Android project, and then just part of the build step, it, updates the theme, the corresponding theme files, so that the developer doesn't have to like make those updates by hand. How we would pull that off, though, I think there's a lot of details in that flow, but that's kind of where we're trying to gravitate towards.
You can build can you build a AAR and I just update a library and I get actually a theme back? Why not?
Do you want that?
Possible.
It's all good.
I mean,
it's all good points to bring up
easy.
for tokens in general. Kind of brought this up earlier about like what tokens are. Important to mention that they are platform agnostic to what, so that it creates another shared language, right? So when, as a designer, if I tell you to please make this button primary, that can be across platform, and it doesn't. And I'm also don't have to. Not speaking towards like a hard coded value either. Like that could mean our primary for anything, our brand color, or maybe using dynamic color. So it gets a lot of flexibility too, but keeping that shared language.
Now with dynamic theming, it's just super important not to hard code colors, but rather use the theme colors that you get. Given that now you have more flexibility as well, that will help because you have tertiary. But I was wondering, there's many cases in which with Material 2, people would need additional colors to use in their UI, not necessarily primary or secondary or accent for one of those, but you might need additional colors. How does that work in the world of Material 3 and with dynamic theming in particular?
So are more colors like those additional semantic colors outside of that
I'm
primary?
thinking, for example, it happened to me that I had one specific composable that needed some colors that weren't like it needed, say, 4 or 5 colors to represent different things and different states, and I could get some of them from the current material theme, but others were something that I had to add on top.
So that's where those custom colors come into play, or extended colors. So you can actually extend out the palette or the scheme. Specifically, so you can keep your key colors as those primary, secondary, tertiary, neutral, and then if you have an additional custom color to extend it, semantics are probably the most obvious one there. So like if you need a few colors, so like this, like success, warning, failure, you can extend those out, and they don't have to be within your. You don't have to make that. You wouldn't make that a tertiary color, for example. Yeah, and we do have guidelines for in the color system. It's going to be the custom colors, and kind of explains that. It use kind of these like home controls examples. So those are buttons that are or UI that's very semantic heavy there, kind of, on off, temperature. So it needs to extend out the palette rather than have those within that primary scheme.
Got it. Yeah, because it was all very ad hoc with Material 2, and I'm actually happy to hear that there is a built-in way now in Material 3 to do that, which is definitely going to be making life easier for everyone. I'm out of questions. Even, do you have any more questions?
No, actually, I just realized that I have 3 new tickets on my pet project. Investigate material design 3, material U, and the other one is something that Mark said in the chat, that migrating the widget was easy. So now I was like, yeah, why didn't I build a widget with a fancy material? I mean, dynamic colors. This is cool. So thank you for making my pet project even harder.
The third one
now
would be something with feet. Given seems to be the theme today.
No. I'm fine. No, but I'm serious. Now I'm super curious.
So let's
about
put it
this,
like that.
And I want to try the code labs.
We do the code labs and we try to hook that stuff up on Sunday. And then we will actually have Mark coming help us with the app widgets in the future, because that stuff is still not really released. It's super danger zone kind of, getting the latest Android X snapshot and YOLOing it. I'm sure we're gonna have an easy peasy walk in the park kind of thing where nothing breaks, because that never happens. So
yeah, sure.
Yes, I forgot the name. Mark has pointed out in the chat is actually called Glance, which I'm really looking forward to. So don't worry, even your tickets will be partially taken care of live. So we'll be kind of pairing on that. You can just copy paste afterwards.
No, but this is great. I mean, it's I don't know why this is all coming now. Jetpack Compose, this stuff. I mean, Google. I mean, what's going on with 2021? everything is just, I don't know. I mean, we waited so much. I waited a lot to enjoy so much again doing Android. I'm honest here, right? There was a very, very, very dark time at some point. But now there is a lot of joy. Last 6 months, I mean, this is being very, very exciting. So I'm loving it. Thank you for all the work. I mean, this is great.
And if there's any, of course, there's any other resources or tutorials, anything that would help make all of that easier, we're always available to, can reach out, like, I'm having trouble with this, and we'll, here to create more blog articles or code labs or Figma resources, anything like that.
Yeah, and a lot of the Material U library work it's all now in alpha, so I think now is the best time to give that feedback so we can make changes sooner.
Yeah, at some point I'll catch up with the backlog of bugs that I need to report. But I'm sure that there's gonna be like a lot of very good stuff in those libraries in the first place. Like I'm seriously looking forward to seeing how Bundle will look on Android 12 with proper dynamic theming. Also, so that people can stop complaining about the green being too bright. So if they don't like the color, I can just tell them, well, change your wallpaper. Okay. I think we're done for today. Thank you very much, Ivy. Thank you very much, Chris. I think we forgot to give away stickers because we were too taken by discussing color.
We're gonna give everything away on Sunday. Stickers, IntelliJ license,
The whole thing.
And I just all the things. I just want to put it on the table. If you are a subscriber and you get stickers, you also get a holo sticker, the one and the only super holo stickers that we printed. So if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can subscribe for free to the channel, and yeah, I mean, new stickers, so go for it.
Cool. And obviously, as usual, thanks to everyone that joined us today and will join us later on the YouTube VOD, which will go live in 24-ish hours, so 8:15 European time tomorrow. And yeah, we'll be back with our design series in 2 weeks, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, we'll do code. Thank you again. Have a great rest of the day for the ones that aren't going for dinner. And have a great dinner for the ones that are going for dinner. And good night to everyone else. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Ciao.